Okay, so morning everyone, thanks for joining. I know it's very early, so hopefully you had some coffee before the session. First of all, you see a Slido link on top. So for the roundtable discussions, the idea here is we have the questions on Slido, so you need to go on slido.com and put the number you see here with a hashtag, and then you can start providing some answers to the roundtable discussions. We will pick some answers to discuss further if time allows. Just a small intro about the consortium of projects that we have here. I don't think you can see everyone, but I'll ask them to just, show them their face when I speak about them.
Right.
So we are a consortium of 5 different sister projects. We are all focusing on user engagement and demand response schemes, helping the energy transition. So the projects are the Accept, we have Hestia, we have Redream, Iflex, and Sender. So we have representatives joining us from all 5 projects. I'm gonna make a small intro about the projects and the presenters themselves. So when you hear your name, please come here so people can see you, if that's okay. Some of the presenters have joined online, but we have some of them here. So I'll start with, I have my notes here, my seat, so apologies for that. So I'll start with Redream. So from Redream today, we have 2 people on the line. So we have Juan Martino and Carmen. So thanks for joining. So Juan is going to be the responsible party to answer some of the questions. So his role within the project, he's the leader of the social and strategic work package. So a few words about the project. You can see some of the information on the slides. Hopefully you can see the slides. So the Redream project puts the energy consumer in the center of all the activities that they are doing. They have an ecosystem of smart technology, consumer energy behavior, and they give opportunities to local energy markets for promoting demand response, flexibility, and reduction of energy consumption. So they are developing a tool set, all the projects do. So we're going to explain the technologies for each of the projects. So in addition to the smart devices and the intelligent software to track the consumption of individual users and their production of electricity, if we're talking about prosumers, the Redream project is developing applications to change consumer awareness about energy. They have a network of users using mechanisms of gamification, social interaction, competitions, and visualization in an application, a user application, and in this way they support consumers in the daily behavior. The current situation about the project is they have 4 different demo sites in Spain, in the UK, in Italy, and Croatia, and people are working very intensively to recruit potential participants. We have some participants on board at the moment, and for those participants, some of the smart devices have actually been deployed at their premises, right? So this is about Redream. So I'm gonna go to the next project. The project is Iflex. Thank you, Laura. So from Iflex, we have Roman. So he's the representative of the Slovene Consumers Association, and he's mainly involved in coordinating user engagement and co-creation activities within the project. So a few words about the project now. You can see some of the stats on your screens. So the main objective of the project is to empower the residential consumers and prosumers by making it as easy as possible for them to participate in demand response schemes. This is achieved by developing intelligent assistants for energy consumer flexibility management, which first of all optimizes the comfort, energy cost, and environmental footprint on behalf of the consumers and according to their wishes, and also offers flexibility for the power grid management purposes. Now, going through the toolset for this project, the main product is the Iflex Assistant. So it's an intelligent personal assistant that handles all the complexity of the demand response system interactions. So we're talking about different types of DR schemes here on behalf of the consumer, which can be single households or even apartment buildings. The Iflex has concluded its pre-pilot phase. So we have a few users that have already been engaged. Currently, the project is recruiting for the second pilot phase, and they're trying to gather 100 users. So that's the target for now. Co-creation is done on the look, functionality, and content of the assistant's user interface, as well as on the design of the incentives. And the co-creation activities will commence this autumn. So more to see on this project in the coming months. So going to the next project now, it's Hestia. So we have Fabio here from the Hestia project.
Hello, everyone.
So he's the leader of Hestia. So Fabio is the leader of Hestia's work package on validation and exploitation of the project results. So a few information on Hestia. So the main scope and objectives of the project is that they're aiming to develop a cost-effective solution for the next generation demand-side response services by encouraging residential consumers to engage in flexibility sharing and grid balancing. To reach this goal, technological and social models are coupled together to improve the management and use of energy by residential consumers. So the main project developments and products of the Hestia project is first of all a web-based platform with a user-friendly interface to be used by the prosumers involved in the project. And this platform is composed of user-personalized services, and it will allow the end users to check, manage, and improve their energy consumption. And about the current status of the project, the user engagement phase has been finalized, and the first set of co-creation activities actually has been performed. There is a second round coming in the last month of the project. So moving on to Accept. So for the Accept project, we have quite a few representatives, some online and some here. So myself, I'm Ismini Dimitriadou, and I'll be your moderator for the day, so bear with me. A few things about the Accept project, and then I'll go and present the other people that will join us during the conversation and the discussions. So the Accept project aims to deliver an integrated tool chain for unlocking the flexibility for potential of energy communities and facilitating in the energy transition. So the project designs and develop compound services for the end users. So the end users in this case are not only your prosumers, but also the energy community themselves. So we have a digital toolset that is developed for the communities, and it helps them assume different roles. So the role of the aggregator, the energy service company, but also the role of the retailer. And as the other projects already mentioned, we also have user interfaces. So there is an application that we're developing for the prosumers. So it helps them automatically and remotely control some of the devices, visualize their consumption, ambient conditions within their house, but also the energy savings that they can achieve through the demand response schemes, the energy savings, and so on. And we have a user interface for the energy community where they can visualize aggregated data about their communities. So with regards to the status of the project, actually now we have recruited our participants. So we have quite a few. We have 4 different pilot sites in the Netherlands. So we have a representative here from the Dutch pilot. So Arjen is here and we'll discuss the pilot. We also have the Spanish pilot. So we have Pablo on the line from the Spanish pilot to represent that community. And we have 2 more. One is in Greece, and the other one, and I start now. So we have the Spanish, the Greek, the Swiss, and the Dutch. Yeah, so we have some creation activities that we have already completed, and this includes the tools that we're developing with the energy communities for the energy communities. But we have more co-creation activities coming in the next few months with the prosumers. So we're gonna show them what we developed with the application. We're gonna get their feedback on that, and we'll do refinements of that application. So I'm going really quickly, and apologies for that, but we don't have much time. So I'm gonna go to the last project for today. So I have William here to help me out. Say hi.
Hello.
Okay, good. So William is a researcher at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and he's a work package leader in the Sender project. So a few things about the project. I don't know if you want to say something or shall I? Yeah, I'll continue. Okay. So Sender uses the co-creation processes and consumer engagement strategies in designing energy solutions and services for households in 3 different demos across the EU. So we have 1 demo in Finland, we have 1 demo in Austria, and 1 in Spain. The main goal of the project is to use forecasting and automation to increase the use of demand response flexibility and provide more renewable energies to meet the energy demand. So with regards to the technologies that they are developing, we have 5 central use cases in order to accomplish the aims and the goals of the project. So they have residential demand response. They try to maximize the use of renewable energy sources, minimize the electricity bill of the prosumers. They allow remote monitoring and control over appliances of households. And they're also looking at peer-to-peer trading as one of the technologies. The project is currently finalizing the co-creation process. They're analyzing data from some co-creation workshops that have been completed. And they have conducted user interviews, so they're analyzing the responses as well. The demonstration phase will begin in October, during which a comprehensive user engagement strategy will be implemented based on analysis and construction of user typologies. So apologies for going so quickly. So we have a few more people on the line that will help us with the discussions today, and I haven't actually introduced them. So if I have forgotten you, just speak up. So I'm just gonna go very quickly. So these are the main contacts from the different the consortia that you saw here today. But on the line, we also have a few people that I haven't mentioned. So we have Paul, Tobin, and Breffney from the Accept project. They are our engagement leaders. We also have our dissemination leader, so that's Andrea. I also spoke about Pablo from the Spanish pilot, Arian is here from the Dutch pilot. We have Carmen from the Redream project, as well as Patrick. And I think Luis may also be on the line from Iflex. So just a few things about the format of the session. So we'll start with what we call the panel discussion. So we have a few questions that we prepared, and we'll get the views from the different projects on these questions. And then after that, we'll go through the slide of questions and see what you have answered. We'll take some answers from the people that are in here as well. Hopefully that will stimulate some further discussion and, raise maybe some issues that we find in common, maybe even find some mitigation measures, who knows. And before just moving to the panel discussions, just a bit of introduction maybe on how this synergy started. I don't know if that's something that we... So basically, this is not new, the synergy that you see here. So actually, we have been working with these other 4 projects. I mean, Fabio called us one day, like a year ago, it must be like more than a year ago, and said, look, we're doing very similar things. We probably are facing the same challenges. So how about, we start like monthly meetings, or at some point it was even more frequent, just to discuss those challenges and what we are actually doing to mitigate them. Maybe that helps some of the other projects, because we're not all at the same stage now. So it started as a knowledge sharing. At some point we said, okay, maybe we should now just take a step further and have tangible outputs coming out of this synergy. So there is a white paper that will come out at the end of this year, and we'll discuss some of the things that we will discuss here today. So bear in mind that your inputs here today and people on the line will help us with the white paper. So thank you in advance for the help and support that you will offer. Okay, so I'm gonna go straight now into the panel discussion. I think we are kind of running a bit late, so we allowed 40 minutes. Sorry? Yeah, you can stop sharing. Thanks, Laura. So with the panel discussions, I'll go through the questions, and just for the presenters, I'll be quite strict with time. So please respect your time, very limited. So I'll give the floor to the people that will need to provide an answer. So for the people online, please remember to unmute yourself when I give you the floor. Okay, thanks. So first question is basically, what are the main engagement strategy that each project has followed to, first of all, recruit their end users? So I'll start maybe with people on the line. So I'll go to Iflex and Roman.
Hi, hello from my side. Thank you for the question. Yeah, actually, we just, like you said, we just finished our first phase of the project, where we have invited only a limited number of consumers. Actually, these were known consumers, known end user, mainly existing customers of our pilot hosts. We have 3 pilot sites in Finland, Greece, and Slovenia, where I'm coming. And actually, yeah, these are mainly consumers that we know, that are existing customers. We invited them also through, I don't know, phone, mail, some campaigns. And then we also asked them some additional questions in the procedure of recruiting. For example, what equipment they have, what resources, what, for example, what's their awareness regarding the energy and so on. So yeah, in the first phase, mainly existing consumers, but now we are entering in the second phase where we will brought our, let's say, consumer or pilot user base and try to get some else. You are muted.
So I'll move now to Andrea. Thank you, Roman. So I'll give the floor to Andrea now from Accept.
Okay, thanks a lot. I hope you can hear me well. Yeah, within the Accept project, up to now, the activities have been mainly based around awareness raising, recruitment, and also the planning for engagement activities. The recruitment was primarily done through the pilot leaders, who acted, let's say, as gatekeepers to their communities. The engagement with end users included workshops, one-to-one meetings, and also presentations. And this was a very important aspect to create also communication materials, presentations, to enable the process of building trust and a collaborative relationship between the pilot leaders and the communities. And yeah, within the Accept project, the recruitment is still ongoing for a more in-depth engagement and feedback gathering.
Thanks, Andrea. So Juan Martino, the floor is yours now on the Dream.
Thank you. So for Redream, we have built our engagement strategy with three main pillars. The first one is to always provide value over time, not only at the beginning, so that users keep engaged during the entire project, to always provide more benefit than the effort needed to participate in the project. And the last one is trust in the ecosystem. We are building a technology-based ecosystem, and one of the key issues users were afraid is trust in technology. So we built everything over trust, and we complement these pillars with principles that help us to design all the engagement initiatives that are based on personalization, visibility, and transparency. Keep it simple, make things discoverable, and provide a managed automation, make everything automated as possible to keep it easier for the consumers. And specifically on recruitment, we have a threefold approach based on target. We have different consumer segmentation. So depending on the target, we will adjust our message to meet their motivation, and also combining very different channels online and offline.
Thanks, Juan. So now we'll take it from the people that are here. So I'll give the floor to Fabio from Hestia.
Yes, I hope you can hear me well. And what you were saying, Juan, makes a lot of sense. Make things simple for the final users. We saw that it was a challenge also for the Hestia project. But yes, what was trying to do in the first phase of the project was to have an inclusive and participatory process for engaging the final user. So not going individual by individual, but going with a community, with a social network of people, and trying to understand which was their interest of being part of a community more than their personal interest and their personal interest for reducing the energy consumption that is mostly related to incentives and to reduction in energy bills. So we wanted to try to understand how these impact at community level was seen as more important than the one of the single person, each individual by each individual. So this is what we tried to do from the beginning. Then the COVID came, as we all experienced. That made things more difficult. But yeah, from like presential workshops, we try to go to like individual virtual setups to understand what was in the house of the users, etc. But yeah, at the end we were also able to organize co-creation workshops together with the end users. We recruited the ones that we had to, and now yes, for the last part of the project, we also need to keep them engaged, because it looks like that we started with the recruitment, and then at the end of the project we are going to ask them if all the process was good. But we also have to understand that they can be bored of the process at the middle, so we have to still do activities with them and engage them as much as we can. So this is the goal of the project for the next months.
Excellent. Thanks, Fabio. And we're going to discuss that last thing that Fabio said about keeping them engaged in one of the questions. So now I'll give the floor to Sander and William. So
Thank
William.
you very much. Good morning. Yes, we've been, I think it's under now concluding our co-creation process, and we're now moving into the engagement phase. And the engagement phase itself has three distinct phases. I'll try to sum up what we're going to do. So these are recruitment strategies. Then the first phase is dedicated to dissemination of information materials, events, workshops. We also have individual energy counseling for the end users, and we also have some surveys. And the second phase focuses on what we call social pressure. So we actually talk to the users about, we highlight some positive contributions that people may make by participating, doing the right thing, and so forth. We also involve gamification, and we also focus on involving people directly in the actual rollout and the installation activity, as well as doing follow-ups by phone to get information on how stuff is going. So in the final phase then focuses on persistence. So and this involves setting up an online forum, signing on beta users, arranging exhibitions and seminars with these beta users, and also provide measures to show people the actual impact of their demand response actions, and to sort of try to give them an idea that their little contribution makes a difference in the big picture.
Excellent. Thanks, William. Thanks. Good. So just before moving on to the next question, which is kind of, you're helping me. Sorry, we have to stop sharing.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, excellent. Thanks, Fabio. Okay, that's a little better. So quickly, for people on the line, you can just send us questions to any of the projects actually using the Open platform. So there is a chat box that you can use for the questions. So we'll go through the slide of that these are our questions to you, but you can also ask some questions if you want to, and we'll take them at the end of the session. So thanks everyone for sharing your engagement strategy. Now moving on to the next related question is actually, until now, have you actually changed any of these engagement strategies? Did you have to adapt to any challenges that you may have faced? If yes, what was those challenges and how did you adapt to them? So for that questions, I'll ask Ridrim and Iflex to provide an answer. So Juan Martino, if you want to go first for Ridrim.
I'll go for this one. So our main challenge was that we started with a motivation-based strategy. So trying to find potential households based on the value sought that we identified in the preliminary research, and we got quite a good response. But then when we screened these respondents, a few of them met the eligibility criteria. So that was a big challenge, and we had to change the entire recruitment strategy. So to start with the eligibility and then base the motivation. I don't know if this is clear. So people that applied to be included in the project could not be included because they didn't have the equipment for the explicit flexibility that is the object of testing. And so I'm presenting a collection of strategies that we came up with and tested to find these eligible participants. And also across pilots, we had to adapt the strategy to the segments of consumers. So we created archetypes, but they were more or less present in different countries. So in some countries were more financially concerned, in other countries were more environmentally concerned. So we had to do minor adjustments to these differences.
Excellent. Thanks, Maman. So just moving on to Roman now for Iflex.
Yeah, so regarding the engagement strategies, we have it. We had a plan regarding the engagement strategy, how to engage end users. But then actually, while recruiting them and knowing the users, we also made some small, let's say, adjustment of this engagement strategy. And actually, it's kind of similar, like already said. For example, in our Greek pilot, we were mostly targeting users with electrical boilers for heating the water. But then we found out that there are not so many potential pilot users, and that the interest for managing or controlling such devices is not so high. So we are now trying to let's say engage other users having other devices with heavy consumption. So this is, let's say, it's one change. And for Slovenia, let's say we are also knowing users better and also getting some feedback from the field. And we are now thinking of involving other consumers that were actually not thought at the beginning. For example, bigger power plant that we could also use. So yeah, we are still, let's say, our main focus are end users, consumers, but we are also getting some feedbacks from the field, and we are trying to engage also others.
Excellent. Well, just staying on this subject, so you said that there were some challenges with meeting some technical requirements from the users, so you had to adapt to that, or you had to end up with a lesser number for the participants. Now, did you face any other challenges during your engagement with users? What were those challenges? How did you overcome them? And also, do you anticipate any challenges ahead? So I'll give the floor to the same people now. Maman, if you want to go first again.
So this was the reason behind the main challenge. And another main problem is that for users, it's still unclear what they will get. So what they ask is what's in for me. And it's difficult to provide an answer because of the different regulatory frameworks and also because of the effects are object of testing. So we don't have still an answer to say you are going to save this amount, which translate into this amount of money or whatever, because this is what we are actually testing. So this exploratory research or this initial research, well, there's a challenge in that. And also the costs. It's difficult to say. So they also ask, what do I have to do? And it's difficult because what they have to do will change throughout the project, and it's difficult to provide a clear cut answer. And we also found some challenges in another stage that the literature doesn't say much about, that is the onboarding. So when people make an expression of interest, they go through a process of screening where they had to provide a lot of information to check their eligibility. And they were overwhelmed by this information. This created trust issues distrust issues and suspicious, and also, and most importantly, anticipated anxiety. So they thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be my life in this project. So I don't want that much engagement. So we also had to review this stage, not to lose consumers in the onboarding stage. So we did a sequential onboarding thing. So to reduce the anticipated anxiety. So the two main challenges was the reduced perception of value, mostly because we don't have an answer yet, because we are still testing that. And the second thing is how to appease the anticipated anxiety or anticipated stress that they have.
Excellent, Maman. Thank you. So the floor now is yours, Roman, for your question.
Yes, thanks. Actually, we were faced to two issues or kind of challenges, and that are mostly legal and technical. For example, one legal issue is that in the Greek pilot, when we're recruiting and let's say finding our consumers, we found out that the the user that we are contacting is not actually the legal owner of the let's say apartment or the meter, and we have to adjust our informed consent to include the legal owner of this, let's say, building or the apartment. And another also legal issue or challenge was regarding the equipment. We were installing our equipment and the consumer had their own equipment in their home. So what's the liability here? Who is responsible for what? Who can do what? Who can manage what, and so on? So this is what it was also included into informed consent. And regarding the technical challenges, for example, in Slovenia, we are trying to find consumers with heat pumps. That's, let's say, consuming device. But then we found out that some standards and technical protocols are, let's say, not known and not known to the public. Documentation is not available. So we had to do some reverse engineering in some cases to be able to control such devices. I would say these two challenges, legal and technical, mostly.
Thanks, Simon. So just moving on to actually something that Fabio mentioned about the challenging of keeping the users engaged. So we discussed how we are engaging with them, how we need to adapt. Now, we are all developing solutions. That takes time. So from the time to recruit someone until the time you actually visit them and to install the devices, give them the solution, so on. How are you managing the engagement? How do you keep them engaged and still have their buy-in? So for this question now, we asked some of the pilot leads actually from the Accept project to join us. So Pablo, I'll give the floor to, it's first Arian, apologies. So Arian is from the Accept Dutch pilot. So Arian, how are you planning to engage with your community members and keep them, warm about the project and very engaged?
Well, hello, good morning to everybody. And what Carmen was just telling is kind of also happening in Holland. The distance between the start of selecting the participants to the moment that they find something useful for them is very, very big. For us, for instance, we kind of started with the audits a year ago. And since then, for the users, nothing happened. So this is a real problem with this technical driven project. And we face this problem very much. So we still hope that the participants still want to join the project. But at the end of the year, their apps will be available. So that's a real problem. Now we will start with a user council. So this way we want to get them going again. And we expect much of this solution. Pablo, do you want to add something? Pablo.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wait a second. Okay, now. Sorry for that. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge problem that we are talking about. The distance between the first, time we contact the users until they really see the solution we have made. But I mean, in Accept, what we are trying to do is just develop this, living lab approach, like trying to prepare these local workshops for once, get the engagement of the user, but also with these, activities, try to make them like kind of co-creators of the solutions. Okay, they're not going to have everything, but at least trying to implement some of their needs in the final product. Also, as we've been doing in this project and in other project, we've been the demo partners just to stay as close as possible with the end users and try to use every communication channel we have available. You say, email, just sending the newsletter of the project, maybe phone calls. For instance, here we use the Energy Cup assemblies to provide an updates of the project. So it's not only the end user, but the whole community that is informed about the progress made.
Okay, thank you both for your answer. Now, just getting the view from another project on this. So, Roman, back to you for Iflex and what you're doing to keep your users engaged. Roman, I don't know if it's just us, but there seems to be a technical okay, it's not just us. Can you try again, please? No.
Maybe turn off this picture.
How about switching off the video just for a little bit to see if that fixes the line? Not quite. Okay, maybe we can have another project answer that if that's okay with you, Roman. I don't know, William, Fabio, do you want to take this question maybe? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, no, I was mentioning before, like we saw that the COVID changed a lot the way we were interacting with the final users, and so now we have the understanding on how we could still continue to work with them even if we are not directly on the pilot site all the time. Because for us, just in one of the pilots there is one of the partners of the project, so we are not always in contact face to face with the final users. So we have to keep them engaged with. We will talk about it later, but with this first prototype of the platform, we will try to keep them engaged in this way, let them try it, giving us like suggestions on how to improve it. Also, especially on the user interface of the platform, this will be very, very important. But this is something that we also discussed in our last meeting with the consortium. Like we are going to extend the project even, so this distance between the first phase and the end phase will be even longer than maybe for other projects. So we are struggling to find a way to do it and to keep all the users that we already recruited engaged in the process. So we were thinking, and was suggested by the work package leaders, to even if the prototype of the platform is not ready yet, but to give it to the users so that they can play a bit with it and understand what it will be presented to them, how they will be able to use it, and which are the features of the platform, etc. So this is the way that we are thinking to keep them engaged, and also, as I was saying, that there will be another round of workshops with them. So I think that this will help as well to keep them engaged and to see if they are still want to be part of the project, because as we saw, the bottom-up approach of like creating angry communities, demand response projects, we are not sure it's still the right one, but we have to understand how we can improve the process. And as you were saying, and also as Carmen was saying at the beginning, probably putting too many restrictions on contacting them too much, it's not the best choice, but it's a lesson learned for sure. Yeah. So yeah, we will try to. I mean, we are using also this workshop to understand the mistakes of the others, to not do them again in our project.
Of course. Now, since I have you here and you kind of just discuss some of the co-creation activities, you said you're going to take the app and give it to the users to get their feedback, and then I assume that you will do some refinements on that. I mean, are there any co-creation activities other than that you have in mind in your project? And what are you actually trying to get out of this, except for like keeping your users engaged?
The objective of the first co-creation activities that were already developed was to let the users learn what was the process of creating the platform, what was demand response, what they can do with their energy. So this was the first objective, and we also discussed about it because, like, do the people really want to know what is happening in their houses from the electricity point of view, or they are not interested? They're just interested in and knowing which is the energy bill at the end of the month. But we found out, it's quite clearly pilot specific, the situation, but we found out that there is a real sense of community, at least in our pilots. So we try to have the co-creation activities all together with all the participants to make them know each other if they don't know them, and to understand how, again, they can find an extra push for being involved in this kind of projects, having the social network around them, and not only individual benefits, let's say. So this is, for example, one of the things that we did. But also, for example, now we are talking about doing another co-creation activity in one of the pilots to write the smart contracts in legal terms, but also in understandable terms with the final users, so that they can understand more IT-related and more technological structured kind of contracts. But they can, we will try to explain to them how it works, and we will try to make the written things very easy to understand for them. So yeah, we give it a try, and we think that it's very innovative. This will be one of the most innovative things of the project as well, from the user participation process.
Thanks, Fabio. So now just moving to Sander and William, what about you and your co-creation activities, and what are you trying to get out of those?
Yeah, thanks. We've been doing co-creation from the very start of the project. Actually, that's what we started with. Technology development has actually been secondary to that. And so this has also been the purview of my work package. And what we have been doing is we take the technical aspects of the project and we're saying, okay, what will this mean for a person or a household to have these technologies in place in their everyday life? So for instance, how will a person experience having certain kinds of demand response actions undertaken in their homes when they get up in the morning, when they are at work, when they come home afterwards? So what decisions will be taken for you as a person going through your daily life? And based on our use cases, we boiled this down to little narratives. So this is how we did it in practice, and we told little stories in these co-creation workshops about how life would be when these solutions come into place. And this sort of allowed us to reality check what we have in mind for our technological solutions, and more generally, what would users be okay with, and why would they be okay with this and not that, and all those nitty-gritty details. So you can save some money. Is this a good reason to accept technologies in your house, or is it do you think it's interesting to reduce consumption so the grid itself can be better suited to employ more renewables and stuff like that? So in our case, I think it helped us to reality check our use cases, and then we can confidently actually say that we're just not doing something that's completely impossible for people to comprehend and relate to. So it's really a gauge on their comprehension and their understanding of what we're doing.
Actually, that was a really good idea about the narrative. So I kept a note of that, actually. So thanks for that.
Thanks.
So you said that it helped you a lot with the reality check. No, don't go, because I have more questions for you.
Yeah.
You managed to get what you were actually seeking, because you had that was the aim, and you kind of achieved it. Now, how much do you think that actually helped the users, what you did, in keeping them engaged and interested in the project? And how much did this co-creation actually influence your solutions, or will influence your solutions?
Yeah, well, I think I said, I think the most important for us was to get a sense on, are we on the right track with the use cases that we made? And is what we're going to impose on and expose our demo participants to something that's going to be possible to justify and explain to them. So of course you could think that it is from the outset when you design these solutions, but when you co-create them, you're much better prepared if you know what sort of possible objections people can have, and the different reasons that we also give to people for why we're doing this. And in another sense as well, I think it's given us a really good opportunity in the projects to work together on the use cases in a more concrete way. And we, inside the project, also spend this time together and focus on what people think about them. This enables us to be much more aligned as a project, thinking holistically about the different solutions that are being developed. And so then co-creation, it's not just something that goes on between the project and the users, but it's also a process that continues within the project itself. And when it comes to how does this actually influence the design of the technical solutions, I find that maybe a little bit difficult to answer at this time. But when we started, before the co-creation, it wasn't like we knew absolutely nothing about what the users need. So and sometimes even in these projects, technological solutions are brought on board, and actually there's maybe not a lot of scope for changing them. People think they're already more or less perfect. So this is also, but I think the answer doesn't really maybe lie in how good the design is now versus before you did co-creation. You actually do something with the technology. I think it's also a lot about, how will this design that you have now work? And this is, after co-creation, you know more about how this design will work. And you can improve what you're doing then without actually altering the technical design, which I think is very important to keep in mind.
So the same question for you, Fabio. Sorry, the arrangement here is not ideal, so we have to move the speakers actually around. So same question for you. Does it worth having these co-creation activities? Why is that? Is it good for the users? How do they influence the solutions and so on?
Yeah, I think that we will see it at the end of the project.
So I'll keep this question for next year.
No, in the sense that clearly it helped us to understand which is their motivation, and also we just didn't only focus on the end users, but also on the overall group of stakeholders that are part of the project and of each of the pilots. So whenever we were having application activity, it wasn't only with the users, but sometimes we were also able to invite some representatives of the pilots or some public speakers, etc. So that's also the project doesn't look as like something European and so broad and so different from what they have, from what they have in mind, but it's also like something that comes from people close to them. So this was very, very useful for us, I think. And I also, from the technological point of view, it's true what William says, that it's not easy to reply, was it better before or is it better now that we had the co-creation activity, but at least we are developing something that our participants want. We don't know if it will be the best solution for scale up. For example, if we want to have this platform used by many more people, we don't know if it's the perfect case. But at least we know that for our 120 participants, it's the thing that they want the most. So I think that it should be as much as personalizable as we can, the solution that we are developing, both in terms of technology and in terms of process. So I think that there will not be a general way of creating a co-creation process for all the energy communities in Europe, but we will have to study in details what we have at the pilot sites, and when we will go like on a real project in the sense of like scaling up our application, we'll have to understand all the characteristics of the community, and then based on that and based on our previous experience, we can really say, okay, this is what could work as a process, because from community changes. So co-creation, finally answer to your question, is the first step for clearly understand how to develop this process from scratch.
Excellent. Thanks, Fabio. So just a bit pressed with time, but I'll go through a couple of more questions if that's okay. So going back to the users, I want to take the view from a couple of projects. And what do you think the main motivation of an end user, a consumer or prosumer, will be to engage in projects like ours? So projects that have to do with the provision of flexibility services and demand response. So these motivations could be, economic or social or whatever. So I want to hear your views on that. And actually, one more thing, we've all engaged with users up to now. Is there something cultural, social that you think plays a huge role in how you engage with those people, or with their motivations to engage in such projects. So I'm going to ask people from Accept, so Paul and Breffney, to go first with this answer, and then we'll move to Redream again, and Juan or Carmen.
Thanks, Ismini. I'll take
So
the first. Yeah, you can hear me okay? Great. So I'll just take the question first, and then Paul will follow after. So just to kind of highlight some of the outputs from Work Package 3, we were looking at, we kind of did a top-down and bottom-up approach to the analysis, and looking at kind of what motivates people. And from the literature review, we can see that there's the situation, as Fabio said, is different across member states, but there's kind of 3 factors that we picked out of the literature that do time and again influence people's motivation or ability. And I think ability is a big was a word as well when we talk about this, because a lot of the time there are barriers thrown up to certain cohorts in society who cannot then engage or think about engaging because they have so many other issues to deal with. But essentially, like I said, from the key factors we picked, and I would also direct people to the deliverables and the outputs from Accept and Work Package 3 especially for this as well, because we do address it in some detail. But basically there's governance factors, like the legal frameworks that are in place. Do they encourage or discourage citizens? And then which citizens are prioritized, because at the end of the day, there are firsts amongst equals across member states as well. So some cohorts in society get a better bite at the cherry than others. So there are also socio-political factors, and say where engagement is often impacted by political tensions, but also then say where support schemes that are in place to encourage people to join, say, energy communities or think about changing their technologies, those support schemes get shut down, or say the incentives themselves are reduced, or and that brings in uncertainty. So people aren't they're kind of afraid then to engage. So and also then obviously you have the market-based factors, which will kind of link into governance, but are also the financial tools that are available for people as well. There's different products there that again are inhibited for some cohorts in society and not others. So that's the kind of down approach. But Paul will talk a little bit about the bottom up and some of the motivations within Accept itself.
Okay, Paul, you have 1 minute, and then we'll go to Juan. Sorry.
All right, thanks, Breffney. As Breffney said, towards these motivations, a major part of understanding these factors in our pilots and projects is employing this sort of engagement strategy and having a good framework or methodology so you can understand these motivations of the citizens and communities, which you can then incorporate into these designs and services. This begins with the initial work with the pilot partners to understand the pilot region. And with some of our early engagement work, we gathered feedback on the Accept concepts. So that's translating the functions and the services related to the use cases to citizens, and then gathering their feedback on this. In addition to these concepts, we can gather some initial attitudes or current knowledge towards demand response. And one thing that we found as citizens, in many projects are the same, is that they're highly motivated to be part of a demand response scheme. And then following this initial work, we can then sort of carry out more in-depth scope and activities to understand even further the parts and communities. So basically, why are they motivated? And then how can we use this knowledge? And to do this with us, we use sort of psychological frameworks such as the needs, opportunities, abilities model, which can sort of help you to understand in more detail for each pilot, like the attitudes and motivations of these users and stakeholders. And this includes the environment, the culture, the potential barriers they might face, as well as also the opportunities that we can maybe utilize within our engagement process. And we also do, which we referred to earlier by the guys over there in Nice, that we can also incorporate some user testing of the app, so the designs and the functions, and make sure that they're user-driven. And then from all this, the knowledge and the info that we gather from these engagement activities we can outline indicators and factors towards these motivations, which can then help us to achieve this user-centric design of solutions, and also towards the user interface or the user experience related to the citizen app. How was that 1 minute?
Thank you, Paul. Well, and a bit more, but that's fine. Juan, the floor is yours now. let's hear your views.
Thanks. So in Redream, it's very interesting because we have 4 different pilots, Spain, Italy, Croatia, and the UK. We are targeting residential consumers, but also from the tertiary sector, so small businesses, and even agro-industrial participants. And the motivations are not very divided based on these segmentations, but we found like 3 main drivers. So we have consumers, could be residential, commercial, or even agro-industrial, that are motivated by the economics and the financial aspect of being rewarded by providing flexibility. We have consumers that are really engaged because of the environmental aspect and fostering energy transition. And we have consumers also very motivated of the social factor of flexibility. We need to provide flexibility in bigger communities by aggregation of all the devices, and this has a sense of belonging and to improving their own communities. And it's very different. For example, in Spain, we have a consumer base very motivated by the energy transition. They are part of a small energy cooperative, and they don't care about money, for example. Even if they have to pay more, they do this because this is better for the environment and because they are also fighting the system fostered by the big ESCOs. But if we go to Italy, where we are in a very rural area, people is more motivated by economics and then by the environmental aspect. So it's very different in each of the pilots. And therefore, we built an engagement strategy based on this threefold approach, so target, message, and channels, so that each pilot leader could adapt all the resources we provided in order to meet the different motivations for the consumers involved.
Excellent, thanks, Juan. So just a couple of more questions, if you can all bear with us, and then we go to the roundtable discussion. So now taking the view from actually some of the energy community leads from the Accept project, so how do users react to the implementation of energy transition schemes? Are they fully aware? Do they understand the benefits that those schemes will bring to them? And how much do they actually want to know about the technical solutions that each project employs? Do they want to know the detail, or do they want it to remain a black box? So the floor, Pablo, is yours for now, and then Arjen can also give the view of the Dutch pilot. Okay, currently with these prices we suffer in Europe, I think people are really into, I mean, not maybe energy transition, but just, you know, installing PV plants, renewable energy plants, you have cheaper prices in their homes or businesses. But I mean, in our case, our community was born as a renewable energy co-op with zero emission supply. So, okay, the co-op members have really, are very environmental aware. Most of them has already PV plants, and they were planning to install one. Also, okay, as you said, it's not only the technology that PV plants, but also the smart technologies, the solution, the smart devices. I think they are quite open to that because, okay, they provide more information and controllability of the appliances, how the energy behavior is, and, you know, how to, you know, improve their efficiency, or at least try to be more efficient and so on. But there's a problem with the device. Of course, they want to know exactly what they're going to be installing their premises. Many times they don't want to see or barely see these devices. They want to have hidden or not, you know, to be in a place that you could really notice them. And also for the apps or tools, they have to be user-friendly. Otherwise, they're not going to understand them, or they are not going to use it. So, Arjen, the floor is yours. Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you, Pablo. Well, the start of our community was kind of the same. It's the social system was a very big part of the development last century, and also we own ourselves the people of the community the heating system. So we kind of gain warmth from the water, which is saved for the for drinking water. Let's say, put it that way. So we keep the warmth there, and we send it to the houses. So this is the basic of our community. So everybody is very well aware of what's happening with the energy transition now, and with the huge prices. They are very well motivated to join any project. But well, they want to be more in the project, and this is the challenge, like I mentioned already before. And I think knowing now from the other pilots, from the other projects, I think it's very important that we share more knowledge, that we continue working together and develop together things for the end users. It's what I pick up from this this session.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you both for sharing your views on that. So a final question, I think, and then we go to some questions for all of you that joined us today. We had some late joiners, so they will also take some questions, if that's okay. So I think Fabio has already kind of implied that we do need what we call a minimum viable product. So a preliminary version of the solutions we're deploying to keep people engaged or to get feedback and so on. So I want to hear more about your view on that. So you said it's important. Why is that? How are you going to, do that in your projects and so on? So yeah. Yes.
I'm being honest. Has been a discussion between the consortium partners in the last periodic meeting. So luckily the user engagement leaders were asking for solutions to keep the users engaged, and they found one which is very important, which is this thing of providing a prototype of the technological product of the project that they will use then in the future, and let them try it, especially on the user interface part, in the sense of like understanding which are the features that are the most important for the final users, where to put the buttons in order for them to find them easily, because we are talking about, for example, in the Italian pilot, we are talking about like a range of age of participants between 40 and 80, 90. So we are also talking about people that are not very aware of technologies, of the Internet of Things, etc. So we have to make it as easy as possible for them to use it. So this is a really very, very important process for doing it. We didn't yet decide for a planning on how to do it, but the platform has been developed by the technical partners. We have to keep the users engaged, so we will try to find the good connection between the two things in order for them to give us feedback and at the same time keep them engaged, because we really think that it is the only way for them to continue to be interested in this kind of projects. But now, like, I understand that, for example, another way of keeping them engaged apart from that would be to together with let them use the platform, let them understand how the energy world is changing, so not only giving them the platform to use and to give us feedback, but also telling them at the same time, okay, you need to use it because what is happening outside of your community is very important and can change the way that you are living and you are using your appliances inside the house. So I think it shouldn't just be like give them the product and let them use it, but also like explain to them how their participation, also especially in these times, can change the way that the entire community and outside of the community appliances are used. So it's not only about the product; it should be also about like the good communication strategy for like pushing them to use it in a good way.
Excellent, thank you. So I think that kind of concludes the discussions that, I did something. Hopefully you can still hear us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I see some nodding. Excellent, thank you. So we're moving now to the roundtable discussions. So this is the chance for those joining outside of the projects we discussed today to give us their views about some things that are common across all projects, even like more projects than the ones that you see here today, common challenges and so on. So we want to get your views, and that will help all of the projects, these ones we're discussing today and the ones that will be kicked off in the next years, months, or whatever, to make solutions more appropriate to users, to find users more easily, and so on. So I think Laura has shared a Slido link with all of us. I don't know, Laura, if you can share the Slido screen. So we asked people to give us their views on the questions using the Slido, so we can possibly just go there, see if that works.
Somebody can do the screenshot of this meeting in that post, and we use it for next year for voting.
To keep users engaged.
We're discussing about it.
Okay, so I don't know if people online can see Slido. Hopefully they can, and so, well, people here cannot see Slido, so I need to.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You can take the QR code.
Let's try maybe if I share the screen. If I work here, literally the technical problem. It's the,
I don't know what happens.
Okay. So we can read. Okay. So we can read. We can read the questions if that's okay with you, right?
No, it's there.
Yes. Yes. So, no, stop sharing. I need to stop sharing somehow.
They can see it.
Okay. Good. Okay. So I'll very quickly read the question, and then we'll take some answers from Slido, and then if you want, we really appreciate some answers from the people here in the room as well. So from your experience, what are the main motivations of end users to participate in demand response projects? We heard some views from the projects on that, but also we want to know what are the main concerns or barriers that you think users have, and that prevents them from joining such projects or schemes? It doesn't have to be schemes like projects per se, like the ones we're doing, but generally, like VR schemes, what may actually prevent users from joining such schemes? So I'll take a few of the answers that I see here on the screen. That may actually stimulate some further discussion with you guys over here. So people are motivated for different reasons. And very true. Those reasons may change during the course of their lifetime. Someone mentioned the ongoing energy prices rising and everything that is happening around us. So I think like we can all now appreciate schemes that save money and energy even more now. So this could be a reason why someone may change their views. The obvious reasons include cost savings and technical interest and peer support. Others can include thinking about one's legacy. I like that one. The main barriers are systemic. Without proper system supports that promote VR, we will, end users will be less motivated to participate. So, expert person, and I think, so there are some more barriers that I found that are common across all projects as well. So someone mentioned the complexity of the solution. So there are people that, may not be technology literate, and automation systems giving them into their homes may actually scare them. Someone mentioned, I think it was Mamen that mentioned that people can be quite scared and things can be very overwhelming for them. I don't know, does anyone from the audience here want to share any views? Do you think that there are more barriers and challenges that people may have? And No? Yes. Yeah, of course. I mean, for people to hear you, they can't see you, I think. No. Good. So you can mention the project as well.
Hello, as you can see me, so I'm Mathieu Schumann, I'm the Mr. Project as well. And just a feedback, because energy savings sometimes is very theoretical interest, and the feedback that we have from pilots in France is that people don't really know where to start. They're motivated, they would like to do stuff, and sometimes they're already active in things like waste management. but they got energy, they just don't know where to start. Or so experts sometimes it seems very simple, and then you start to misapply and so on. And then very simple steps to say, okay, in your day, maybe you can start doing this. This I think would help people get engage better in this kind of things. So sometimes very simple steps. And another one, what was it?
If you remember, just feel free to chip in, right? So thanks for that. So any more views from people here? Do you agree with those barriers, and do you think that they are common ones? Okay, not even a note, so I don't know.
I like very much the changing comfort, because like demand response is also very linked with the fact that you may change your habits. You may have to change your habits. And I personally see with my family lately that because of the change of from mono to bi tariff, in the sense of like having like two different timelines day to day. They started to do, for example, the laundry only during the weekends. So I see that, and they are not vigilant about them, etc. But they're becoming more conscious. So we have to understand where how to find a balance between the change in the comfort and the benefits that demand response can provide. You know? So I think that this is very, very important, and we have to take into account, because then we can automate all the decisions. So like a person just put the laundry, the clothes inside the washing machine, and the system just turn it on when it's time to do it. But we, as experts in the field, we would like also the users to be more active than passive. So this we have to understand which is the right way.
Yeah. And if I may add one myself, I think the other thing that is currently missing is a proof of the actual value of those solutions. So, in many cases, you have to give some money. Someone said about the initial investment cost, so I'm supposed to give some money to get the solution, right? But how soon can I start seeing the return on my investment? How much savings am I going to achieve? So something that is kind of like also backed up by evidence. So I think this is actually something that those projects are really good at, just proving the value of some of these solutions with concrete evidence and with real users and so on. Okay, so I don't know if someone wants to share anything else. Otherwise, yes, please. Thank you.
I think the motivation comes a lot as well of how you show to a user the consumption and so on. Because if you show it with some bars or graphs, I mean, not all are like this, and children maybe they can't compare that much, but even adults.
Really?
And this is running like an ice curve. I don't know what at the different time the driving, and you understood. Maybe
yeah.
It's not very difficult. I think it has to be not everybody it's gaming stuff, but it's
No, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, when you're looking at such things, right? No, it's actually very interesting, and I think this is why we need users to, give us feedback on what we're developing. If people want to see some of the savings in a very certain way, because this is what's more impactful to them, we need to know, and we can make it happen. But it's very nice. I don't know where you got the note. I'll catch up with you later because I want one of these. Okay, any more views from here? I think there. There's a new one. Okay, a big bar is a certain reluctance to change. Yes, definitely. So things are fine as they are. People don't like the uncertainty of change, but when it's done, people see the value more quickly. Okay, when we say systemically, like, is it something that are we implying here? Maybe government-led. So something needs to be, very horizontal and imposed to you, or I don't know. But it's a good point. I think no one really likes change, right? we all like our comfort.
Yeah, this is our top-down approach. Like also suggesting before, probably not only from the financial point of view, from the financial actions, but also these kinds of interventions from the government, directly from the government, like saying, okay, from 2030, you can only buy LED lights. Okay, so this is systematic, so you are forced to do it, and people start to understand the value of like paying probably renewals for an LED instead of 1 euro for a normal bulb. But like I don't know, investment time for it, but in like 1 year, 1.5 years, clearly it's stays money forced for more time. So I think that this kind of systematic change should come from the top.
Okay. Any more views from here? We can move to the next question, I think.
There is some typing, but otherwise we move to the
We can collect the...
Yeah, we'll collect the answers, and actually maybe we can... Yes, please.
Regarding the concerns of areas that each have tasks other people want and they are really to reach because they are not consistent. So you only get people who have certain interests and certain motivation. And I guess when you look at the relatives of how young people don't own their own properties at that age, and they are not in the position to invest in new stuff or assets or something like that. So to address them, you need to really find an approach, make it valuable for them, that they can make a change also. They don't have the resources, financial resources to get involved. And this is something that needs to be considered somehow.
Yeah, of course. Maybe you need some financial aid from the government or things like that. Yeah, who knows? But it's a good point. We need to ask the users not participating in those schemes as to why. So thanks for that. Yeah, someone did type something. What's in it for me has been an issue when trying to recruit members. So not understanding the benefits, then I think we kind of mentioned that during our conversation. People, especially in the current situation, have associated smart monitoring with monetary gains, but this is not possible due to regulatory barriers. Yeah. Oh, and a link. That's great. So we're going to have a look at that. Thank you very much. Also, like, the other thing that I will mention is maybe even one of my old concerns. It was the privacy issue. So someone is installing a lot of monitoring devices at your house, and for people not very familiar with these technologies, it may actually raise some privacy issues. People can see when I'm at home, when I consume, so things like that. So just another concern maybe that I had in the past at least. Okay, so maybe we can move to the next place. We're gonna collect all the answers. We may actually find a way to share some of the insights that we have from projects on those answers after the conference. We'll see how it goes with the organizer. Okay, so we have no answer here, so I will force the audience here to get if you were designing a demand response setup from scratch for improving your everyday life, what would you do? So if you could design your ideal solution that implements such schemes, so it helps you like save energy and even provide some services to your network operators that are suffering at this moment. So how would this solution be? It's a difficult one, I know, especially for people maybe not involved in such schemes. So if people don't have any views in that, we can go to the third question because we have like 4 minutes left.
Someone is.
I would like to say maybe short.
Yeah, please.
In general, I think it's important to coming up with
But people online can't hear you.
You can hear me?
Someone is typing now. I can't.
Well, I think it's important to focus on low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So you need to identify the largest load, and then you need to figure out some way to orchestrate the interplay between these large flows. So that's where you want to start.
start with going big, and then you would go with a small
washing
change.
machine. This is kind of detailed or technical because you know like what is the load and what's the kilowatt hour and what's the kilowatt difference. But you need to start. So a lot of people would need help with this.
My only concern about that is like thinking about the big loads that you're saying. So it could be like your HVAC system, so your heating and cooling and your electric vehicle. But for me, I think personally this would be the most difficult one to shift, maybe because it kind of touches on your comfort and convenience. Like my washing machine, I don't mind if it runs overnight, but no, I get the point. This is where the impact is, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's good for your message stage because you can say, okay, I can do this. And I can, I don't care about standby mode of my TV or whatever. I can ignore this. Now I have a sizable contribution. Done.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's very
Something invisible, completely automated with no need to interact with it. Just an initial setup of preferences, and that's it. No. Okay, that's real engagement. It's just approving the installation. Yeah, okay, not a view.
On the other hand,
I respect that. On the other hand, I know like our dad's pilot partner here is exactly the opposite. They wanted to know exactly what is going in. And they wanted the app and.
Also, it's meaning too much automation sometimes. It bothers the user.
Systems and now it's
Okay. So also give you tips that make sense. Yeah. Okay, that's okay. So I didn't want to also say something.
It's like it's not the opposite. It's just that people are living their lives. When you want to intervene, kind of add whatever, they want to know what is going to happen, when it's going to happen. If they can decide afterwards to change it again, and if they know, they will go with it.
You need to build a trust, right?
You have to build the trust. You have to offer something which is valuable for them. If it's valuable, they will go. And then there's a little concern about Wi-Fi, because there are really fanatics in our neighborhood who don't want Wi-Fi things going to Greece, and they are.
Why Greece?
I don't know.
I will not take it personally, okay?
That's why it's Greece.
Okay. Yes, please.
What I could do is try to understand like my behavior, because I think that's like before starting thinking what I will change or what I will change, and because we got like our every day we do many things in the we're not aware of what we're doing. So I think that it's also maybe a way to understand like why the users are doing what they're doing. I'm doing my laundry at this time, because I have done it for a year without even noticing. So I think like understanding like there's one is my current situation, good first step.
How do you think we can do that though? Because that requires us to get that kind of feedback from the users, but it's a really interesting point. There are some more views and we're running out of time, but yeah, very quickly to you too. Yeah.
These apps, right? You can calculate your carbon footprint and eat and so on. Maybe you could do something similar for energy consumption. I mean,
yeah.
Even though if you don't do it, you know, okay, hot water is there will be high energy consumption, which a lot of people don't think about it. If they know that they have shut down the light, but even hot water or cooking is extremely, or I don't know, that you don't even think about it.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. And there is a final view.
I don't much of it is solutions. I think that every day you have to discuss, of course, and maybe with some more background and implications on what to do. But I think that you need the community part. And probably the community part is at the beginning, is always giving the context. Like, making sure that everybody understands energy, understands what they're doing. So the community gives you why you're vulnerable and you feel like you're not doing this
on your own. Yeah.
and in the everyday speaks to us. And if you want more, you can read more and get certifications.
Or through your community as well, I guess. Okay, that's
No, I agree totally, but it's more words and then.
Excellent. Okay, I think we are 2 minutes over, so we will need to close this session. So thanks to everyone for joining. I know there were a few issues at first, like a few delays. Thanks for those of you joining online. What we're going to do as a next step is I think we can give the overall presentation of the intro to people, and maybe we can even tidy up some of the notes and the things we discussed here and distribute it to the participants. So thank you so much for joining. It has been a real pleasure just, taking your answers online and engaging with all of you. And I think from all the people here, maybe you can just gather up a bit and show you. Thank you. Have a good day. We have William over there. He's very shy.
No, I'm not. I'm just lazy.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.